Vince H, who didn't do it, I swear. Tonight we're talking to Bobbert Gideon, purveyor of fine optics.
That is not what I wrote down, but I'll take it. That's better.
I like it.
Best intro ever. Thanks, guys. Really happy to be here.
I mean, I wrote
that
you were Bob the Builder, recently thrust out of construction by low labor prices.
You know what? I have gone by Bob the Builder once or twice and may have dressed as at Halloween as that at work on one or two occasions for a girl I was dating. But that's neither here nor there. What's up, boys?
Your full name isn't Bobbert Gideon?
It isn't. No, but it might as well be. That's not even the worst name I've been called today.
I challenge you to go now officially change your name to Bobbert Gideon.
Right now? Okay.
Don't stumble when you tell the judge that, because it'll be like Idiocracy. It'll be written down for eternally. You'll forever be
so don't say Bobbert. So don't say Bobbert Gideon.
Oh no, that's not the right one. Oh my gosh.
So hi Bob, thanks for joining us.
Oh, there I found it. Bobbert Gideon. Yeah, thanks for it. Now you got me on a project.
That is a show title.
Is that even spelled right? There it is.
That's the only show title.
Boo, 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 boo.
So everyone, we have Bob from Gideon Optics here with us today.
Thanks for that side quest. I almost knew what I was doing. I don't ever know what I'm doing.
The show is
the face they stick on here.
Yeah, we basically are an entire side quest.
If you ever started playing Skyrim back in 2011, and you noticed that you'd been on it for 24 hours and you'd only put like 1 hour into the actual main quest, that's us in a nutshell.
Yeah, thanks. I almost knew it was good. So we had all that prep time, and I just wasn't ready for that. You had to flop that. You couldn't have done that before we started. You had to make
this is basically improv.
Just throw my ADD right on display for everyone. Like, you should change your name right now. Nope, I can't talk to you until I do that. I was told here and watch while I do the thing. I was just assigned.
You know what? Just share your screen. Show us how you're doing it legally. We'll do a step-by-step. All right, he's going to the official court website right now. He's typing his name in. He's paying the $25 application fee. And there he is.
Temporary license.
Bobbert Gideon.
Yeah, so Bobbert Gideon. I don't make optics, but I talk about them. I talk about them all over the place. Do a lot of trade shows. You guys make it to a lot of trade shows? I saw...
Not so far. This will be our first kind of year foray into it. Mike was our test bed. We sent Mike out first in case he died. Then we would know that GunCon wasn't safe.
Terrible idea.
Sending Mike out alone? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, terrible.
Yes. Yeah.
I did go to primary.
There's a reason I didn't equip you with a T-shirt. I just sent you in civilian clothes. But then
I went
my
anyway.
I brought
my
own.
primary arms range day, but it was kind of a bust, except for the souvenir I brought back.
The acquired property.
I like how the guest parking's pointed right at his mouth also.
I assume that's why I had to change my name. This is some kind of Vince H fantasy. So I was just fully prepared for the guest parking to be directly there.
There are no coincidences.
No. I hope.
Is anybody going to... Go ahead, sorry.
No, go. I was just going to make a really bad joke, but I was just going to say that's how we kind of hooked up. I met you at GunCon, and you and Nick were chatting. I came up, and the three of us were. It was just a great time, man. We talked about the Advocate on the shotgun that you had, the shotgun that was extremely heavy for no reason. Oh, I would like it. I'm into heavy things for no reason.
I feel like there's a joke there too. Are you gonna make
heavy rifles?
I'm missing it too.
He made
a joke, but it's not landing. It's still there.
I'm a lot funnier. Fruit. You're low hanging fruit, anyway.
Fuck you.
That shotgun is kind of heavy. Actually, that shotgun, I went out to try to shoot something for our YouTube, right? Which is kind of lacking because besides doing the marketing, quote unquote, right, managing the advertising, I also do most of the technical support for Gideon Optics and for a couple other companies that we've had. So it's left up to Michael Branson, who you probably met as well, and myself to put together all the YouTubes. But anyway, I spent like half a day, and it was raining off and on as well. But it was the only day that I had that I could get out and get to the range. So it was raining off and on, and I recorded a whole day with that shotgun, and my arms were really tired. I don't know how many times I reloaded or lifted up and down, but extraordinarily tired, right? I'm no stranger to shooting guns. And soaking wet, and then found out that all of the audio was garbage.
Oh,
So
this is very weird.
Because
no,
no sound. Yeah.
I just took the Guardian first focal plane out here on Friday and put about 240 rounds through it. And then discovered that 90% of my B-roll was taken in slow motion, so there's no audio, and it's stupid because I hate slow motion video of guns shooting. So I'm like, oh, fantastic. Because my DJI Osmo was set to slow-mo mode for some reason. It was so damn bright outside, I couldn't see the screen.
I'm not I'm not the film fanatic. I don't really do that aside from like shooting GoPro on my head for action shots. Other than that, like I don't go out and film myself shooting too often. I did actually get a few decent bits of footage shooting it's the Guardian on top of my Sig 556. I put the second focal plane on top of it, and man, I really enjoyed it. My stepdad enjoyed it. The fact that it, like, once you get it in line, it just brightens up so well. It's like, oh, there you are. There's your sight picture.
Yeah, second focal plane is probably, and maybe it's because I've been poor most of my life, but second focal plane is the one, right? The one of the magnified options that we're putting out that I really felt I could judge. And I completely agree, man. It's a really good time for me. I'm still not. I've put some rounds down behind the first focal plane, but again, I don't have anything to compare it to, I guess, because my entire life, all my experience was second focal plane, and I'm comfortable with that.
Because you're poor like us, got it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I think we're only charging $70 more for the first focal plane, right? So I guess.
Oh yeah,
it's been a while since I thought about getting into an FFP. That's one of the things we're trying to do, man. Is not just try to put out optics that have all the features people want at a price people can afford, but also to kind of close some of those gaps, if that makes sense. Like in the pistol arena, our Omega, I guess, based on some other competitors that have one of those larger circle windows, right? Should be way more expensive, I guess, or somewhat considerably more expensive than our, I guess, standard shaped option, right? So our smaller windows like the Rock and the Alpha. We said, you know what, it doesn't cost us that much more to manufacture, right? There's no reason for there to be a gap just because you're getting a little bit more glass. That doesn't cost us that much more. And we're doing the same thing, between the second focal plane and the first focal plane. I didn't realize there was only going to be like a $50 or a $70 price gap between the two of those, but it doesn't cost that much more to manufacture the first focal plane. I'm sure some people hate us, or some other companies hate us, I guess, because there's always kind of been that gap, and they've just all kind of done it. Green emitters is the same way, right? If you visit our website right now, there's a lot of green emitter stuff that is out of stock from time to time, and they are absolutely the green for whatever reason. I don't know that it's harder to produce, but it's more in demand right now. You know,
I've noticed that a lot of people want green more than
for those of you watching. For those of you listening on the audio, Sam just made some hand gesture I'm not familiar with, but I'm just going to assume it's
that's American Sign Language.
I think it's a boomer.
Anyway, green is harder to get. It's more in demand, but it doesn't cost more, so we don't charge any more for it.
Vince,
I was gonna throw on the brakes real quick. I think we might have gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves. We'd be remiss to not ask Bob to tell us a little bit about Gideon Optics, where it came from, kind of its story real quick, and what they're all about.
I should have this compacted into an elevator speech by now, but somebody's got to give me some type of hand signal, maybe one that I can comprehend to stop.
I got you.
Whenever I go too far.
I got you.
So. Whoa!
I know that one.
I'll go get my son to punch me whenever we get off here. I'll go upstairs and wake him up and be like, you got to hit me real hard right in the leg real quick. Just do it. All right, go back to sleep.
Good.
Where did Gideon Optics come from? I guess I got to tell you where we came from, right? Jordan is the owner, but I've known him since before he started his first company, right, which is JSD Supply, that does aftermarket clock and SIG parts, a little bit of rifle things. And it's been about 2 years ago, right? So I've been working for him for about 5 years. About 2 years ago, he got one of his ideas he gets, right? So what I got to tell you about Jordan is, I don't know if it's, would you call it OCD? He gets an idea that he thinks we can do something better than somebody else, right? And I've known him for over 10 years, been working with him for the last 5. He gets an idea, and he takes that idea all the way down the road to almost pulling the trigger and making a thing, if that makes sense, right? He does all the math and he gets to there and compares it to the market, and then decides whether it's something that we can feasibly do, if it's something that the customers, that people will want, and something that we can accomplish as well as we want to, if that makes sense. And Gideon Optics is kind of the same thing. He looked at it, and there are a lot of optics companies out there, right? But he looked at the prices, the features, what was out there, and what we wanted, because we're all shooters. We've all been into guns for a decade, some of us longer. Me, it's been about 20 years. Is it just
me, or has there been an explosion of optics companies in the last 3 years? It feels like
there's a ton of them, man. But where we saw the gap, right, was not just there's a bottom of the barrel price, and then there's kind of what we're calling now, because we jumped in, there's kind of like an upper mid tier, I'd call it, right, that has most of the features you want, but isn't that much cheaper than the high tier, right? Things like Reticle. And he saw this space, and he said, if we can do it for this price, and we can put all of these features that we want, right? Everything, almost everything, right? Every non-magnified, right? Something with anything that doesn't have large knobs. Everything but the scopes has to be motion activated, has to have at least 20,000 hours of battery life.
Yeah, that's all pretty basic these days.
And we have to be able to offer a lifetime warranty, and not a lifetime warranty that you have to register for. Because another thing I should have said from the beginning is we hate paperwork. All of us, right? Even filling out a 4473 is annoying to me. I went and bought a pistol the other day and was mad again that in my state I have to fill out 2 forms, 2 pages on 2 forms. I'm like, this is crazy. Gross. This isn't the first time I've done this. I've got NFA items. You know who I am. Anyway, we hate paperwork. So we have to be able to do all these things, offer a lifetime warranty, and to make a good enough or reliable enough product that lifetime warranty isn't going to be something people ever have to use, if that makes sense. We basically make the stuff that we want. So when you look at something like our Alpha, and some of them are a little bit different. It's things that we saw that nobody was out there making. If you look at the reticle on an Alpha, it's a 62 MOA circle, right? So it almost fills the window with a little dot in the center of it. But that's what we wanted, based on all of us trying to use pistol optics for the first time. I bought and then sold 3 months later my first Reticle, an RMR Type 1 or a Type 2, because I couldn't get that little dot in the window.
I was about to say, so the RMR is very for those who don't know, RMR is it's like the first widespread pistol red dot. Yeah. And I hated every one I've ever looked through.
Yeah, I just quit chasing that dot. So we made things that we thought would help people that were like us once, or that are like us now, right? Because almost everything's getting cut for a pistol dot now, or for an optic, right? Pistols, most of the new ones coming out have a spot for an optic. So we wanted to offer something that we didn't think really existed out there, or hadn't gotten mass adoption, that would have helped us when we started out anyway. See, I told you, I'll just keep talking. That's an awful long story to say.
We
saw room in the market, and we didn't see anything exactly like what we wanted in the market.
Yeah.
Javelin Fangs in the chat said nobody fills out product registration anyway. So yeah.
Don't they? I do. For everything.
And Vince replied, "Of course not. You want to end up on a list? microwave registration list, man. Get you."
I do. Yeah. Nobody else does that. Okay. I'm the guy that keeps a box with the manual in it, with the receipt stuffed in it for everything I buy, and then once every 3 years I clean out that room that has all the boxes in it. I'm like, why am I keeping this? I had a garden hose that had a 25-year warranty on it, and I know I throw the hose away, but I kept that package with the receipt stapled to it, because I'm going to hold those 25-year warranty SOBs to the
I actually had a conversation with somebody at GunCon, and it may have been you, that I told this person that I have all of the handgun boxes from every handgun I've ever bought, and he looked at me and went, "But why?" I literally last week just finished throwing them all out.
Did you?
Yes, I opened them all up. I took everything that seemed interesting, which for most of them was nothing except the book. I kept the books because the books, for
those are handy. Yeah.
So the intervention
you don't need
worked.
those either. It's just it's a step, man. It's like a grieving process, or manuals and boxes anonymous, right? Like I let go of all the boxes, but I had to keep all these manuals. Not like you don't know how to field strip.
No, it was more for like historical sake or whatever. Like somebody maybe 100, 150 years from now will be like Sig Sauer 1911. Let's read about this. Cool. We got laser guns now, but let's read about the slug thrower.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go that far. I was going to say you do make an excellent point. There are things that I've held up the manual for and said, I'm not going to be alive probably when my great grandkids are here, so they might need this. So
and Mike wants to be the guy who sells. He wants to be the guy who sells the gun on Gunbroker, but it comes with the original manual.
Yeah. I threw out the
not
box,
the original box.
Yeah,
no magazine.
Yeah, no magazine. All right. So per our, I believe we're rather than just bombarding you with serious questions, Vince, get your first question in. We're gonna ping pong back and forth between real questions and Vince's questions.
Okay, so we have standard guest questions, and I'm going to start asking you some of them. Okay. Bob, do you do any kind of hunting? This isn't one of the questions, but I just wanted to ask.
Hey, fair.
It is an important question, though, being on a hunting podcast.
I don't do a lot anymore. A little fishing. I did small game with my dad when I was younger.
Okay. What did you enjoy?
I actually thought about that when we were talking about before. Like, do I tell these guys that I don't really hunt now?
Doesn't matter.
You know what I like shooting, and maybe it's because I was my dad convinced me that we weren't going to eat because they were destroying the garden. I just like picking off groundhogs in like the woods, the bottom property where where the garden was. We weren't farmers. We had a good bit of property there was a garden on, and there was a field behind that. And I still have the 22 bolt action rifle that I learned on. It's a little worse for wear, but I still have the rifle that I would go down whenever I wanted. And bullseye groundhogs, bullseye womp rats down the bottom of my dad's property.
Excellent.
So if you were going to get back into hunting, do you have a dream hunt?
Moose.
If you could kill, if you could
moose
kill
or bear. I remember hearing my grandpap talk about going up to Canada, and he didn't have a lot of money. He didn't do a lot of things, but he took 2 trips. He went. Not moose. What's the word I'm looking for? Elk.
Caribou.
Elk.
Caribou.
Okay.
Caribou. Yeah. And bears. And he did get a bear. He did not get
like grizzly bear, not black bear.
Black bear.
Quick aside.
Do they not have those in Canada? I know
they do.
He lied to me.
We're just trying to clarify because there's.
So I was wondering, are we talking like grizzly bear, or are we talking hunting black bear? Because grizzly bear is like an OES for me. Black bear is also an OES for me, but grizzly bears.
Quick aside.
Black bears are a much bigger yes from him than a no. Grizzly bears are a much bigger no than a yes.
This has nothing to do with Bob, but my granddad was stationed in Alaska in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. He retired as a lieutenant colonel, and I'm pretty sure he actually killed a polar bear before it became a thing where you couldn't kill a polar bear, and it was only for the indigenous.
Oh, in Mother Russia, a polar bear kill you.
Wow. Yeah, at least that's what I've heard from my mother, and I think my grandmother. They were actually in Alaska during that one massive earthquake that they had back in the, I think, 60s, like 67 or 68, something like that. But yeah. Anyway, so bear is cool, but polar bear is kind of out of reach for most people unless you're indigenous.
Stay away from bipolar bear, though.
All right.
I'll be here all night.
That was funny.
Someone liked it. Fuck you guys.
That's totally gross. All right, so I had a question about how'd you get started. You answered that. I think we've kind of established what your guys' mission statement is. I
jumbled it all together. Now, ask me more stuff that I already said.
I have a question.
Should have said.
Yeah. In order, Jordan, Jordan's like, I can do optics better than anybody else. And then he gets to the point where he's like, okay, let's do optics. Where do you go from there? Did you have to go find a factory in China that was willing to make optics of your quality and not sell your designs to every other Chinese company in China?
Well, yeah, we kind of did. Well, part of it started out with Mike, right? So Mike happened to be transitioning out from his previous company for no reason other than it was like post-COVID, and they had moved their offices and they were coming back, bringing everyone else back to the office. It was one of those deals that you're going to come to the office or you're not going to work here anymore. We're not doing remote wherever the hell you want. This is where HQ is. This is where he wants you. So he brought Michael on board, who had, I forget how many years of experience in the optics industry already. Had some contacts, but it very much was kind of beating the street virtually, I guess. Right. And I don't know if you know, maybe it's just my email. My email box still gets just crowded with companies, alleged companies overseas that want to sell you optics. Say, oh, we'll make whatever you want. We'll make it look like whatever you want. And it was just kind of a grind, right? It was some using contacts or information that Michael had for us, and then answering those emails and getting their production samples and looking at that, testing it, beating it on it, seeing how long the batteries actually would last, if that makes sense. Sometimes ripping them apart and looking at the guts, like, is this the quality that we think we want to put our name on? Yeah, we absolutely did do that, and now we're doing business with a gentleman we absolutely love. I currently count him among my best friends.
Excellent.
He's here now. He's over there,
awesome.
Obviously over there running production, or not running production, but overseeing. And he comes over here a few times a year for trade shows, and then comes over a couple times a year just to see us. I don't think it's been a month since he was here. It was shortly after the first focal plane Guardian came out. Okay. And the gun laws, in Asia, right, in China, you pretty much can't have one.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think he just comes here to do that, right? Because once we took him out and let him shoot some machine guns, and he was very excited to come up to the day. He's like, I can't wait because he makes these things, right? And we tell him that we're good, and we can send him pictures and videos of us using them, but he wants to put it on a gun and shoot it. And him and one of the guys from the shop that manages a lot of our shipping. The two of them, we did kind of a shoot off, so to speak. Stuck some targets out at 100 yards, and that was the first round. And me and Jordan and Brandon and our young man from China, right? We started there, and then it got down to just Brandon and our partner overseas, and he ended up winning at 200 yards, right? Because the first round was 100, and the second round was out at 200. That's as far as the shooting range we went to.
Nice.
He was absolutely thrilled.
That is really cool.
Yeah. We wouldn't be in this if we hadn't found him. We probably wouldn't be in this business, if that makes sense. Because we're shooters. I buy everything I can made in America, right? That I can afford, I guess. But tons of stuff here is already made overseas anyway. But if it wasn't somebody we could trust, and we've been doing business with them for over a year now. So we sold our first one in April, but April of last year was the first unit sold. But actually we started all this probably a year and a half before that. So that's how long it takes to bake it, dig through suppliers, find somebody you can trust, find something we say, hey, this isn't working for us. Or, we got 500 units today and 10 of them have this problem, right? We pulled them out, but you need to make sure this doesn't happen anymore. And then when he comes back here, he'll take some samples back too. Right, we'll say, hey, we had this wrong with 12 out of this batch of 1,000. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again. The next time he comes here, he'll take those defects back so they can strip them apart and they can analyze what they did wrong and try to make sure it doesn't happen again.
That's solid.
It's not bad.
I'm
just kidding. It's great. Sorry, I said it's not bad. Good. Like we're just having a conversation. I'm supposed
to. It's not.
If I'm gonna pretend to be the marketing guy, be like, it's amazing. You don't have any idea.
There you go. There's the marketing voice. Attaboy, Bob. I've always thought that things happen for a reason, even though I'm not a fatalist. If it's a very weird way to look at the world, but the girl turns her head to take the story from Signs where he turns his head to take the gum out of his mouth, and the girl vomits all over the place right before he was about to make out with her. Like things like that happen to us all the time as humans.
Out of
we
all
can
the
all relate to that story.
Out of all the head turning stories that are relevant to the world, that's the one you pick right now.
Well, hold on. Well, go ahead. I want to rewind to the history story from a second ago, right? So to talk about that kind of stuff, right? I work with Jordan in a completely different industry. We were both in cell phones, right? We didn't even work for the same company. I was working on one side, right on the corporate side, and he was working on a dealer side and eventually owned some of his own stores. I'd only maybe see him once a month, right? If that, because he owned the stores, he wasn't already there. But we knew we were both into guns, and I tried to be fair and honest in dealing with him, if that makes sense, and vice versa. So he left cell phones 10 years before I did. And when I left cell phones, right, we had still kept in touch over the years. And I knew he was into guns, but actually wasn't reaching out to ask for a job. But I said, hey, man, I'm finally out of this too, but, not the way I wanted to be. And he was like, hey, this was, right before COVID. He's like, well, I need help. So I just went up and started working for him part-time. And if I hadn't, right, if I hadn't made a personal connection with everybody that I work with in a completely different business, right? If you just looked at that timeline and said, oh yeah, I used to work with this guy in cell phones, and 10 years later I'm working with him in guns. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't happen.
It happens all the time. That's just how life is. Like you picked this dude in China because that's just how life is.
What are the odds? What are the odds that I would get laid off right at the time that his company had just begun to grow like that, if that makes sense? Like he had 3 people working for him at the time. All of a sudden I was like, you know what? It's a little too busy. And neither he or I knew at that time. It was just part-time. I was just coming up to help him, put together slides, test stuff, receive inventory, things like that. I had no idea that I'd be sitting here talking to you guys, that I'd be at GunCon, that I'd be my second GunCon in a row. Anyway, that's all. If you had told me that day that that's what that was, I just looked at it as, oh, cool, I'm not out of a job, right? I got something part-time because I was nice to a guy once.
Yeah.
And here I am doing, 10 years ago what I told you there's no way I'd be here if you'd have told me I was doing this. Sorry.
That was a waste of time. No, it wasn't. It's
we are all a waste of time.
And I consider the guy we're working with, and to your point, I would consider the guy we're working with, it just was meant to be. Like there was no get to know you, I'm not sure who you are, right? Obviously we got production samples from them just like everybody else, but he showed up here, right? Sent us the samples. We said, this is what we're thinking about doing. He showed up here and it was just easy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just easy. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, let's we've talked about them a bit. Let's move into, all right. So, full disclosure, you sent Mike.
So we've got the
Guardian. No, all the LPVOs are called the Guardians, right? Like that's just the product category is Guardian, right?
There's a ton of them. There is a Guardian FFP and a Guardian SFP. Yeah, and somebody
both of them are Guardians.
My man Matt made fun of me at GunCon. He was like, why is there 2 Guardians? And I went back and hassled the guys. I was like, yeah, we really should have thought this out more. Like, no, there's an SFP and an FFP. We really didn't want 12 different names. We don't want to have 9 different categories. We don't have to think about it.
That makes sense.
And they both have different reticles. So
Guardian, you pick an SFP or an FFP, right? And there's going to probably end up being 3 sizes of each of them, but you're not going to have to choose anything else if that makes sense. You just have to know if you want SFP or FFP, right? Yeah. I'm not pointing any fingers, but I have been to some, and maybe that's one of the things that went into it. And I wasn't thinking about it, right? When RTT Guns and Gear, I think, was the first person to come to be like, hey man, so 2 Guardians, huh? I wasn't thinking about it that way. And then I went back, I was like, guys, we really shouldn't have done this. Like, no. We don't want you to figure out whether you want this name, this name, this name, this name, and then have a second focal plane and a first focal plane of, some models. Nope. You just want SFP or FFP. All right, here you go. Here's your one category for each.
And if the reticles stay different, then people really can't screw that up. Like, oh, I want this reticle. Oh, this is only second focal plane. Okay, well, I may have to just deal with that. And I don't want the other reticle, but that's the only first focal plane. Well, I guess I have to deal with that.
Yeah, we did an okay job with the manual too, right? So I've been doing since about a year in is when I kind of came on full time and started doing the tech support. But I love that I don't have to ask somebody a model. They say I have an LPO or they're having a problem with their scope, I say, okay, well, how many does it go up to? It goes up to how many does it go up to? And what does the reticle look like? Do you have a Christmas tree, or you just kind of have a lollipop with a triangle head? Like, I have the lollipop with a triangle head. I know exactly what he has. I can explain to him what he needs to do. And if there's something wrong with it, it needs to come back. I don't have to worry about what we're sending back out to, right? The numbers on the outside, and it's either a lollipop with a triangle, or it's the Christmas tree with the big circle around
what
it.
you really should have named them was the lollipop and the Christmas tree.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Anyway, so we got a lollipop and a Christmas tree from you.
Yes.
To test out.
Just one?
has-
You know what? Never mind. I was going to offer to send you more stuff for the other guy's stuff, but I'll wait till the 5 to 25 comes out. Maybe. Unless you remind me later, and then I'll probably send you stuff.
Oh, sir.
So Mike has the lollipop, and I own the Christmas tree. Well, I'm running so I've mounted it on my AR, which I've used for small game for the past 2 years. I'm replacing a similar. The first focal plane from you guys falls in a very kind of interesting middle ground of all the. So I have.
It doesn't fit anywhere, does it?
Yeah, it does. I have 4 LPVOs. So I have 2 of them from Swamp Fox.
In a good way.
So I have the 1 to 10 arrowhead from Swamp Fox, which kind of matches up because that's a 30 millimeter tube, and the first focal plane is a 30 millimeter tube. And then I have a Warhorse from Swamp Fox, which is a 34 millimeter tube first focal plane. So the first part of confusion Mike and I had got real quick is like, wait, which one's which?
Yeah, I gave him the 34 millimeter rings with the first focal plane, and then he was like, "This don't fit." And I was like, "No, I swear that he said it was 34."
They switched underwear.
34.
Yeah, they
the
did.
cognitive dissonance was
in
strong.
all caps. No, that's wrong. It's like, dude, I'm looking at the box. It says.
Yeah, we're probably gonna stick with that too. So yeah, to make it easy for ourselves. Obviously, you guys managed to screw. It'll get screwed up sometimes,
fine.
unless you order them together. We did manage to assemble the website so that if you pick it and you get $30 off the mount, you're going to get the right one. You can't pick the wrong one if you're ordering the actual LPVO from us with the mount. But we kind of wanted that as well. Anything that's 1 to 8 or smaller is 30, and anything we make that's over 1 to 8 in the LPVO category anyway is going to be 34.
Okay.
But I'm glad you guys screwed that up. That's a cute story. Do you live close enough to each other to?
We have a
I
common.
drive past where he works to go to my work almost every single morning. So
do you know that the store Shields?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one in the Springs. They just recently. Well, it's not. They opened it a while ago.
Back in
actually.
2020.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
It's been a while. Anyway, so he works in the Springs quite often. I work in the North Springs, so we meet up at Shields every now and then.
It's really gay. Anyway,
it's extremely gay. Like it's rainbow flag gay.
Before this gets on. I mounted that up to the same IR I've used for small game last couple of years. Took it up to a range here up in the mountains. Put about 240 rounds through it. My philosophy of testing being like, all right, I want to test this from kind of a varmint and small game perspective, so that we can kind of be a little bit more relevant to the podcast topic, and then also just in general speaking, how well-rounded of an optic it is. So I have 2 first focal planes. I've looked through a few of them, shot through a few of them, but I own 2 of them: the Warhorse and now the Guardian FFP, and which I'm going to call the Christmas tree from here on out because that's perfect.
Dang it.
What I will say, in terms of well-roundedness,
I do stuff like this all the time. Say words that I shouldn't have said, and then
I call that one the X-wing because it looks like the sight from the X-wing in Star Wars.
Dude, it does.
I was calling
You're
it
right.
the Sauron.
Use the
I like that better. Was that you that wrote that? Somebody, or maybe somebody else said that. I for sure have heard "I have Sauron."
Oh, that's been me because you look at it. It's got a big old at 1x, which is to me every LPV, which is where I'm a little iffy on first focal plane because every LPVO I've used prior lives on one of 2 magnification settings: 1x or the max. I don't stop in the middle. It's 1x and then it's just crank it all the way over. So I've never bothered with like, oh, I want to make sure my subtensions are accurate at 6x if it's an 8x. It's like, well, I don't stop at 6x. But anyway, neither here nor there. The challenge with first focal plane LPVOs is getting that 1x to be usable. Your guys's with that big old ring in the middle is awesome in terms of usability up close. I was doing, I think my average for doing Mozambique, which is 2 shots to the chest, 1 to the head at 15 yards, was like 1.5 to 1 3/4 of a second. So, and that's all because that big old ring. When I do my war horse, it's like, because it's just got a tiny little horseshoe in the center. But that part
was
good.
the idea. We still may modify that thing moving forward, but that's really
don't change the big ring, in my opinion. Leave the big ring.
That was the whole idea.
The Eye of Sauron in the middle with the little X.
If we're gonna have something, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. If we're talking about like first focal plane and reticles, like the ring is I'm not a fan of the ring. Of course, I don't have either of these in hand, and I'm not looking through either of them, but I can, look at the design on paper. It's like something that Primary Arms does. They have that horseshoe, and I despise that horseshoe because okay, at max magnification, it takes up too much of your field of view over the target. And if you're going to miss, you usually miss high. You're not usually going to miss low. You usually miss high. And having it open above your point of aim is really helpful in seeing where you are actually hitting. When it comes to making a reticle that's useful at 1 power versus your max magnification on an FFP, I prefer like the reticles that have kind of a semblance of the old German A4 reticle. That's just the 2 heavy bars that come in from the side and then one that comes up from the top, or either up from the top.
The bottom.
No,
from definitely the bottom. You just said you wanted to open at the top. So
yeah, I misspoke. Anyway.
Yeah, it comes from the bottom.
Shut up.
Nasty bastard.
So something that has heavy bars on the outside and the
I
bottom.
like it.
Yeah. And then whenever you zoom out to 1 magnification, the human eye is actually really good at pinpointing the distance in between 2 fixed points. So if you have those 2 bars coming in from the side, the human eye is really good at fixing on the very center in between them, as well as taking that bar that comes up from the bottom and using that as your focal point from left to right. So on 1 power, something like that is very useful. That's just...
And then you zoom in and you've got a Christmas tree in the middle of it.
Right, and then you have the Christmas tree, and if you add illumination, you have the useful illumination. Yeah.
That's not exactly what you're
Except
talking about.
fuck the horseshoe.
I just wanted now you know what I'm scribbling here. I'm not like,
right.
Dear Diary. Vince said something about his bottom. I should follow up about that later. So like scribbling things right so I can remember this conversation without having to go back and rewatch to,
Dear Diary, I have spoken to Let's Go Hunt about the reticles.
I felt violated.
Just bullet points, man. It just says LGH723 at the top. I just want to remember.
Until next time, Diary, sincerely yours, Bobbert Gideon.
I hate all of you. So Vince, the ring once you zoom in past 6x disappears on this reticle.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh,
once
it's
you get into
that
6,
big of a ring.
It's that big
I was
of a
going to
ring.
say somebody remind me to send
It's
one
a
to
big
Vince.
damn
But now I
ring.
don't even want to send
It's
one.
not
to
like
Vince.
a little horseshoe. Oh, sorry, we're talking over each other. My bad. It's a big damn ring.
I'm listening to Bob. Don't worry. I'm picking up what Bob's throwing down.
I'm picking up what Vince is putting down. Somebody hooked me up with Vince. Not like that. Not just because of the bottom thing. That's not what I wrote. But
Michael,
you're really picking up what
up.
Vince is putting down.
Okay.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Sam had the right idea. Vince
Big
just
ring.
tore me to shreds in the most polite way possible, and I enjoyed it. That was the idea. That's what I was thinking 3 minutes ago. That was the idea, right? I don't know that it's perfect for everyone. We've got some positive feedback, some constructive criticism, but the idea was to call these things LPVOs, and they have a 1X. But at least the ones that we look through, right? The what seems to be the mass market is there's just a little illuminated dot in the middle, and there's the Christmas tree, and then maybe there's some outside things. And if you've seen The Advocate in person, you probably haven't
I
yet.
have.
Yeah, for because
I
see The Advocate in person, that was kind of the idea, not to just have that triangle in a circle, right? But something usable at 1X. If you're going to try to train to actually use this at 1X like a red dot, that was the idea behind the Eye of Sauron
Yeah, well, the big ring, great. It's the little subtension X in the center that I noticed when you're looking through it. All right, so every time I take a shot at long range, basically I'm trying to check my shots even at 100 yards. Yeah, most of the time you get for me, I've got to move the reticle out of the way. That one I had to move it way out of the way because there's just, for my eyeball, there's just too much going on in the center with just those X guys. But what I did find out is if you mount your optics like Sam does, and you try and reuse the Loctite was on there because you're in a hurry and you were lazy, when your scope slowly tilts over to a 45-degree angle, now the X is a nice little, everything's nice straight up and down.
I want to know why you kept shooting after you realized it was just slightly off, or did you not notice until it was more?
Oh,
like
I knew it.
You were shooting behind your rifle, like, why is it? So
what am
weird?
I gonna
why
do?
Is my
Pause?
neck hurt?
What am I gonna do? Pause and go, oh look, it's crooked. I better quit for the day. I was still hitting at 50 and 100 yards. I was putting rounds on it, man.
So there.
Yeah.
Dear diary, Mike said some hurtful things about me,
and got put in his place.
So anyway, no, so far so good in terms of, my history with breaking anything firearms related, it tends to be about 400 rounds. So we're not there yet, but 400 rounds still isn't that many. But
I thought you meant breaking it. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. No,
you can. I didn't get the drop.
You want me to break it? Because I was trying to be slightly. In my head, we're thinking, all right, we're kind of more hunting related, so I will do things to it that, like, I'm going out to go shoot coyotes or shoot beaver or shoot whatever. So, for me, it's kind of like, well, we're going to treat it like that. But if you want me to go huck it into a creek and
I'm not saying you got to. Somebody's already look, and that's one of the things, and I haven't done it in a while. Luckily, what's his face, Delta D80 drops most of our stuff that we sent to him.
Yeah.
But when we first launched all the pistol dots, that was one of my first assignments. I guess I made it my assignment, is I wanted to break them all. So I took them out and threw them around and dropped them on their head from 3 feet and dropped them on the head from 6 feet. I didn't get to do it to the scopes yet, but Dwayne did. Dwayne, I want to forget one other guy as well. 2 different guys drop things, like just drop them on rocks or gravel as part of their testing. And it did do what it should do. So the idea, and I can't remember the numbers offhand, the mount is a slightly softer aluminum than the body itself.
Yeah, so the mount breaks before the
optic. The idea, I don't know if I'm sure that's not revolutionary, but that's what they found anyway. They didn't manage to break the scope, but they did bend the mounts. You can if you want to. For sure, get like some pictures and video, man. Get some useful content if you're gonna bust.
Well, I'll take it all in slow mo.
Put it on your AR 300 Win Mag.
No sound, please. Just,
so I'm curious. They just drop things and they've got gravity, like, oh, gravity's doing its thing. But have they put the weight of a rifle behind it, perhaps a 14-pound AR, and drop the optic on the optic with the weight of the AR using physics
to check yourself.
I was about to say, if they're dropping it and they're talking about bending the mount, that's because the rifle's hitting the mount.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Sir.
In theory, like, they could have been dropping it and dropping it on the mount side and bending the mount that way.
Science, bitch.
Just making sure.
No, they did.
I'm checking on the validity of the tests.
Magnets, how do they work?
I still want to do it eventually, but I probably won't get time before the next set of pistol dots comes out and I get to break those.
Well, like I said, I want to take this all the way through. I'm like one of 4 people on the planet who probably enjoy hunting beaver. And no, make your laughs, but yes. I want to take it through October.
Oh man, that's childish. We wouldn't do shit like that.
You yelled at us.
I gave up
anymore.
I gave up on caring about that crap. I just say whatever the hell you want. But no, I want to take it through and nail a couple of the. Hey, there we go. The end. At the end of the day.
He wants to go nail the beavers again. It's your fault. You're opening the door.
I could do more, but I'm not going to on purpose.
You could do more beavers.
I want to get a couple of those in October, and then from there, I'm not. I guess somebody has to try and break it. So
you don't have to. You can just run rounds on it. Like I said, the 2 people.
I'll run rounds on it.
I was just saying, when somebody says break, that's what comes into my head. Either
I don't like
dropping shit on a rock or
drop tests to me are boring. Like, oh yeah, I dropped my rifle on a rock. That doesn't interest me. Crawling through the mud with the rifle and the optic and trying to break it in terms of getting the seals messed up or any. That's the stuff that interests anybody can go. Ooh, I dropped it. Oh no. I like getting them dusty and dirty and muddy and crap.
I feel like that's just hurtful now.
What?
I was just talking
What
about
about
I drop stuff for videos and they just literally.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're dropping your drop stuff
Sam.
isn't good enough. You know what? Sam wants the drop guys or whatever, those YouTube guys, those Aussies that throw shit off a.
Oh,
how
he wants
ridiculous?
Sam to be testing your optics over
You want
dams.
how
Like,
ridiculous?
how ridiculous! Thank you.
Yeah.
Love those guys. Can't remember their name, but apparently
Hey,
don't love them
Godson.
that much.
I think the drop test is very useful.
it
It
is,
is.
but it's. I'm not going to go out there and do. Oh, look, I'm dropping it because everyone else is doing that.
Like,
It's kind of, I don't know.
Well, people like to hear
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right? I only
people
did all
like
the
to know.
pistols. I should put the
People like to
scopes
know
on
they
there,
know.
but about every day, someone emails or DMs and asks if they've asked me literally about every optic on our website if it'll handle 12 gauge. And I got tired of answering them. I only did like 100 rounds, but the easiest way to show somebody, right? And I think that's what the drop tests are more about. The easiest way to get them to accept, right? Me typing it on a keyboard or typing it into my phone, are they going to necessarily believe that? The company told me that it would be. So I just did a video where I lined all our pistol optics up on top of a Turkish import bullpup shotgun and just shot 100 rounds through it. Not that 100 rounds is a be-all, end-all, but right? It's like, you know what? If I'm going to answer this question every day, I don't mind answering the question, but whether, that 100 rounds, right, proves it's going to last the rest of your life on your Turkey 12 gauge.
Did you
That-
zero?
That makes
did you
people
zero-
feel better. Yes,
did
it
you zero all
will.
the dots to them to each other.
Here's
So
the
when you
video.
look through, you see a
I
single
did.
dot.
I slaved them all to each other. Yeah.
Because then,
Nice.
this is called redundancy. When one dot fails, you got 10 more to work with.
The problem was I also did the Advocate, and it sits even on a low riser mount or a low mount. It sits a little bit higher than everything else, so I couldn't really acquire a target. But I cranked the Advocate all the way down to the bottom of the window, cranked the Mediator down in line with it, and then I did manage to line all the other pistol dots up. But I couldn't see a target. I could just see a little. Like an Eye of Sauron. I could just see like a half-closed eyeball of light with a bunch of red dots.
what you should have done was your target for that demonstration should have been just a handwritten sign that says, the number of times I get asked this question in a day. And then you just start blasting your 100 rounds into that sign until it's completely obliterated. And then
Not sound like I was upset about it. It doesn't make me upset. It's just
no, it's not. It's more for humor.
I know.
I'm just trying to
Answering
tie that to the human centipede somehow.
Why?
like all the dots just tied together end to end. Like
The Gideon Dotipede?
Octopede.
No one wants the Gideon Dotipede.
Gross.
Okay, well, we need to recover this one from the spiral. So,
It's
Vince,
too late.
ask another question here. Actually, hold on. I want to do this one. If you could hunt one dinosaur, what would it be?
I couldn't hunt a dinosaur, man. I love dinosaurs too much.
Yeah, but which one do you love enough to stuff and put in, you could
Put it
put
in
a
your house?
Stegosaurus head up there. It wouldn't be very big, so
which one do you think would taste the best?
not T-Rex.
I'd want a Triceratops head, so I guess it's going to be
Fucking A.
Yeah, that's it. That's Dave.
That's my
I can hang
guy.
hats and shit off of it.
That's
I don't know if that's disrespectful or not, but I definitely would after a while. Like it'd be super. I mean, I'd take the hats off whenever company came over so they could see my sweet ass.
Oh no, you
Triceratops
put
head.
hats on that thing
Yeah.
all day long, man.
No, you need a hat on each horn.
Oh, you guys want to see this? Let me remove my multiple hats.
That's the level I'm playing at. I got a Triceratops as a hat rack.
That's just my Triceratops. He wears many
Horse.
hats.
You see, it holds my tops hat.
Bob, I have a question for you.
No.
Are there
mean-
any plans in getting Shake Awake into the LPVOs?
No.
It's gotta.
There's only one company out there doing something like that. I think it's Primary Arms, and I have not heard anything about it, which tells me it may not work very well. Supposedly, they have a battery cap that you can buy and replace.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I've
Yeah,
seen it, but the problem is I haven't seen it anywhere else except for their marketing stuff, which tells me it might be kind of vaporware and or may not work that well.
Well, and I don't. So I guess I don't know enough about the science, but I do know just from playing with stuff. I know that the 2032 battery, right, and we don't want to have a giant battery cap or a separate battery well somewhere. Illuminating that is only getting a few hundred, maybe as long as 1,000 hours on a lower illumination. So that's what I think of as soon as you said that. That's immediately where my brain goes. Like, okay, sure, you could do it, but if it's going to be motion activated, right? And I'm thinking about the average person that just, puts their rifle on a rack or sticks it in the safe or wherever, or riding back in the truck. If you don't remember to turn it off, I would think that the motion activation is going to severely inhibit the battery life.
I mean,
not that we wouldn't. But when I think about what we're getting out of, and I don't know why it sucks the battery out, so I kind of have an idea why it sucks out the battery faster than a pistol dot, right? The same battery in a tiny reflex optic.
Yeah, that was my question. What kind of batteries are in the other optics?
1632s in most of the pistol dots, 2032 in the Judge.
So, Mike, are you asking why the battery life in an LPVO is so much shorter?
Yeah.
It's how the optic's designed. Basically, you have to have an LED. So with most etch reticles, you have an LED in there that's just shooting light at the etch reticle. Don't ask me the science behind it, but that's far more inefficient compared to, sorry about my springs. Oh, they're going again. It's just far more inefficient.
No, it makes sense. I don't know. Light behind it and light it up.
Now you have the fiber wire ones that are coming out, which are more of a traditional crosshair, and they have that like little light emitting, whatever, like little
light emitting diode.
Oh, yeah.
LED. But they do have it right in front of your eye. Oh, it's because you have to use so much more light to shoot it towards the etch reticle versus shooting it towards your eyeball to begin with. So if you've seen, I've only seen a few pictures of some of those the fiber wire ones where there's somewhere when they'll break, you'll see the reticle be over here, and then you'll see this tiny little wire that goes separate from the reticle because they've shifted on each other. But that's why the battery life in LPVOs or scopes in general is usually so much shorter because it takes so much more power to go.
It's a brighter, more powerful light being shown.
Oh,
I'm still writing it down, man. It's not undoable.
If you try to look through night vision and someone's pointing an LPVO at you, don't do it while it's loaded, hopefully, or on a rifle. LPVOs like glow in the dark. You're like, oh, look, someone's pointing something at me. Versus with the red dot, it's a lot harder to see.
Is it only when they're
but it's different
right before the lights?
Stupid question, but for just there are people out there that may have the question: is that just when they're lit that they glow?
Yeah. Which again, on LPVO, the battery or scopes in general, the battery lives are so short. It's more of like, I need this, turn it on, and then shoot, and then turn it back off. Because you leave the thing on, you pick it up the next day, and it's like, oh, it's dead. Nice.
I don't know if we're going to do something, but why not? I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I scribbled it down. You never know. If we could stick more battery in there and not make it too much heavier, right? And there's a lot of discussion of weight.
Just
even
have an external battery pack.
You plug in your scope or a mount with a battery built into it, right? I mean, then you'd kind of be slave to that mount. I'm just thinking of these things in my head.
Just have an external port where you're wearing a helmet that's just basically a giant battery pack hat, and then when your battery goes dead, you just plug your port into your scope as you're shooting.
It's not unheard of. Not what Mike was saying, but it's not unheard of. I think there's multiple like Trigicons that have the battery built into the mount. And that's kind of an older design meant to get more battery life to an inefficient design. But you could also, I don't know, maybe use modern designs that get you 1,000 hours out of a 2032, and if you integrated a mount, you might get 10 to 20,000 hours. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. If you really want to go that direction.
Maybe. Well, I'm going to have it be an optional thing as well, right? We're just talking about the cap that's twisted on. That's not all that bad, kind of like an accessory, if that makes sense. So something that you have this pack, or maybe the mount with the battery pack, and it replaces your battery cap, if that makes sense. And that's kind of somehow wired to there. So you don't have to have the extra X number of ounces of battery on board if you don't really want it. What? Why is Sam making faces?
Oh, Sam's
always making faces.
We can remake the world however we want to. And
as soon as we talk about
things that we do.
As soon as we talk about wiring, a wire going from anything to the optic, I'm just thinking major snag had like that thing's gonna get snagged. Yeah. For me, I hate snags on the.
Okay.
As you said that, I was like snag hazard.
That's why he doesn't have a beard. It would get snagged on his ego.
Embedded in the mount, like he's saying. And the reason I ask is I'm a terrible AR owner. Like my AR hasn't left my pickup in 2 years, so it's a lot of dust.
That's
beating
not
around.
True. It's
I'll kill
left his
coyote
pickup,
otherwise.
but only to get shot at coyotes. That's the only reason.
No shit. I missed a coyote yesterday at like 600, and I'm like, God damn it! If only I had a first focal plane, then I would know my holds, because I had to crank all the way up to 9 in this fucking Vortex Diamondback. I'm like, well, I guess, but no,
trouble.
Yeah, Dave. When I'm done with this, you could. When I'm done with it, and I possibly break it, I'll warranty it and send it to you. It's a charity at this point.
Please, have some more.
My question for you, Bob, is you're testing the battery life on all the optics. Like, how are you testing the battery life on all the optics? Like, do you have them all sitting there just on, and you're like, well, because 20,000 hours is a really long time. Like what?
No, yeah, I'm not personally sitting and staring at all those. Man, we haven't. That's longer than the year since the first production sample been on, right? So I do
that's
have
what I'm
ones
saying.
in my
Like
office that
you've got some guy you're paying like $6 an hour to just stare at these things all day.
That's math. They do the math.
And somebody emails you at support and is like, "Hey, how long is the battery life? Like, what's the guarantee?" And you like have to look over at him, and he goes, "We're up to 13,212."
No, I just say, what's today? April 15th till whatever today is. Thank you. Next question.
Now, it's kind of the point.
It's kind of settled science, right? Like the circuits, the whatever you call it, capacitors, the crap on the board. It's not radical from anything anybody else is using, right? So that's a somewhat predictable number. But I do have ones that have been turning on every time I walk in my office. There's like a creaky spot in the floor right by the door. So I have a mediator on a rifle right at the corner by the door, and I walk in there every day, and that floorboard moves enough that I see the LED come on. Like I look at it as I'm walking in.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, I guess eventually all of those will die. But April of last year till now, nothing has died yet. The LPVOs are a little easier, right? Because they're shorter. I just threw batteries in them and turned them on and just check them twice a day.
That mediator is going to outlast you. Like it's going to be sitting there waiting to get turned on.
Old.
Then like you're going to be gone, and it's going to be like the dog from Futurama. That mediator is your Fry's dog.
Oh, stop. It's effectively infinite, right? At 40 to 50,000 hours. It's like how often you throw your back out in your 20s. Like,
so I have
that's weird. It happened. Like, that's about how often your battery dies.
My aim point.
Yeah, but change your battery once a year. I think
I've changed my aim point battery once since I've owned it, and I think that was like 2014.
If it's something you're going to depend on, change it every year. I don't with most of mine. I mean, the ones that I know I need to depend on, or I might need to depend on if something happens. But I've also got a bunch that I don't find out till I pick it up, whether it's running or not.
Or you could be me and put the wrong battery in your LPVOs for the past year and wonder if one of them's dead. Because it's a 2032, and your wife went out and bought whatever the same size battery is that's smaller. I forget which one it is.
Real close, but skinnier or something.
1632?
Something like that. So I don't remember what it was, but I just kept changing out the battery in my Arrowhead going, it doesn't seem to be working. And then at some point I'm like, oh yeah, wrong battery. It works.
Eventually Sam will be competent.
Anyway.
I don't buy the batteries here, sir.
So
I'm glad I got here at the beginning of that story. I'm looking forward to seeing his character arc into competency. That's good. I'm just kidding, Sam.
Oh, you better stay around for a really long time.
I don't know you like that.
This is one of those like 8 movie
Brooklyn Nine-Nine character arc.
It's a Seinfeld character arc. Is what I'm on.
So, are you Kramer?
I'd take Kramer. I mean, if we had to be somebody in Seinfeld, I would be Kramer. I don't want to be.
Next question: favorite Seinfeld character? It's got to be Kramer. Yeah, that's what
I mean, Kramer and then George, because George is just George.
I don't remember the guy's name, but the actor's name is Wayne. You would be Nedry. I'm just gonna call him Nedry because he is Nedry.
Oh, what?
Dennis Nedry. He's the actor that played Dennis.
Newman. And why?
Newman. There you go. Newman, you'd be Newman.
Nah.
I just
That's
felt
harsh,
like
Brett.
calling you Newman. You have
That's
glasses.
All right, move. So do you, you dork.
Where?
You're not wearing contacts.
You're right.
You should see my new shooting glasses. Anyway,
I actually had a legit question.
well, finally.
Have you tested the pistol dots and the advocate for water resistance? I asked this because when we talked, I got very, very excited about the advocate on a duck gun, and I'm still super excited about that. I don't know if I told you, but I tend to go swimming when I'm duck hunting. And yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Call that shit Swan Lake.
No, it's not swimming. You're doing your ice bath while you're hunting. It's multitasking.
Yeah, I'm taking the cold water challenge.
The cold water plunge while you're out hunting.
I forget what they're supposed to be. IPX7, I want to say, waterproof. Yeah, I've thrown them all in a bucket. I think my bucket's about 18 inches deep of water and left them for an hour. It's supposed to be 30 minutes at 3 feet, 18 inches deep. A little like clear rectangle tote is what I had in the office when the first ones came in and I wanted to start to test them. Yeah, I throw them in there and let them sit for an hour and then pull them back out. Some of them multiple times. A few of them I've had in the rain. One of them I just found video I forgot about today, which incidentally the audio is also screwed up, but I'm probably going to post it to our Instagram tomorrow if I don't forget. Of one of a dagger with an alpha on it, one of the alpha that I broke in my destructive testing video, I guess we'll call it. I brought it back to the shop and hosed it off in the parking lot. So yeah, even after they've been dropped, and the lens on that thing was broken, so the exterior, right, the housing, the hoop housing around the glass was deformed. The glass was cracked, and it survived being hosed until it was in a puddle of kind of dirty water, and it's still running today.
So how do the open emitters handle being pulled out of the water? Have you pulled them out and been like, yep, there's still a dot. Yep, there's still a dot.
That is a thing.
Have you ever found one that's been like, oh, the water's got it?
Yeah. I would say it's at least, I'm surprised how often, I guess, the water doesn't sit in there like I was expecting, right? So I had seen people comment years before we started this, had known kind of like the theory, or what I consider to be, I guess, theory, because I'd never tried it, is that, well, your first shot is going to blow the water off there, even if there is water in there, right? Which kind of sucks because you got to kind of point and pray. I mean, hopefully you've got suppressor height sights like I do, so I've still got a general idea of where I'm aiming. But yeah, on a couple occasions, I pulled it out and it was nothing at all, or I could just see kind of a haze on there. I knew there was water in that emitter. And I lined that front post up and took that first shot, and it was gone, and everything was back normal again.
All right.
I'm surprised how little difference. So, like going from very cold water, right?
Before.
So very cold water. Is it very cold water to warm environment, I think is what I did, right? And you do get some fogging, some condensation on that glass.
Yeah.
But that, if you're shooting it properly with both eyes open and really focused on the target,
you can still superimpose your dot.
Yeah, that doesn't really do anything as well. I guess that kind of proved to me. I never did the taping off the dot as part of training, right? I see a lot of people talking about that. You should be able to just tape the front of your dot, and that's how you should train when you're first learning. So you're not trying to look through that window. It helps you keep both eyes open. You've never heard this?
No,
I have.
Yeah, there are quote unquote alleged experts and trainers that say, particularly if you're just beginning with pistol dots, to keep yourself from. And I still see a lot of first time optics on pistols users close that left eye and try to look through it. They say to just put masking tape on the front of it, and that makes you shoot with both eyes open. And because you're getting the target image from here, you're still going to see your dot or your circle dot reticle, whatever you have in your pistol dot. You're still going to see it on the target. So anyway, that turned out to be true as well. The couple times that I had one that fogged because I took it from very cold to very hot. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or was it vice versa? I can't remember whether I did that one in the winter. I know I sound like an idiot. I can't remember if the water was warmer and the air was colder. Shit, I don't know science.
It'll do it both ways.
Javelin thing.
Does it work both ways? From very hot to very
ways.
cold and vice versa?
Yeah.
Yeah, bend naming concept is the whole occluded eye, kind of like superimposing goofball stuff.
Yeah, if you take I suppose if you take a pistol that you've got in your cooler and pull it out into a humid, hot day, it'll fog.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you take it out
That's
of your
probably what it
very
is.
warm truck into a very cold day, it'll fog.
Yeah, I didn't think the water would have been that cold. I actually, there's no water at the range where I do the testing, and I hadn't pre-planned. I hadn't filled old jugs before I went there, so I just stopped at the grocery store and just bought gallon jugs of water to run out there and dump into this bucket. And they weren't in a cooler; they were just in the air-conditioned store. I remember being surprised.
You're in Florida, right?
No, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Yeah.
But we get sometimes a week. This year we had about the last month that's been 90 or approaching 90 or a little over 90. So
I was gonna say, my joke is less good since you're in Pennsylvania. But I was gonna say if you were in Florida, you just I don't know where I found Pensacola, but you just wring the water out of the air. The air is.
I've been to Florida in even in April or May. I've never been dead of summer, but I've been to Florida in April and May. And it's just too much. Next time I went to Florida, I went on purpose, not for business. Went voluntarily on vacation in December, and that was much more tolerable.
Yeah. So the pistol optics
is going to get grumpy. That's
he usually is. That's what happens. What happens when you live in a swamp.
Yeah.
So
right.
pistol optics. I mean, that definitely. I mean, it's harder.
Leaning so close to the. Nothing. I just realized I've been creeping ever closer to the monitor. I looked down and I was like, why is my chin not?
It's because we're handsome. Anyway.
Yeah, you just wanted to look real.
Hunting with pistols, that's a thing. It's not a thing most people do.
Define hunting with pistols. Are you talking
using a pistol to hunt?
Okay.
Wow.
No, grammatically,
actively
it can genuinely
thing
mean
with the pistol. Yeah, not carrying a pistol around while you hunt with something else.
Well, yeah, that's given. I'm talking about. So I mean, but mounting to a shotgun though. That I'm curious about that one. The Prism, some of that big old Omega. Is it the Omega one that's got the big old window on it?
The Omega.
Yeah, the Omega. People buy Omegas for shotguns like it's going out of style, man. That's the one that most people are asking about. They don't stumble in asking for a random model, but there's a lot of advocates, mediators, and the
mediator of the Omega
shotgun.
On a shotgun might be a cool trick.
I like the
idea of the mediator.
I liked it.
Like as an offset red dot for a rifle as a backup or a secondary or a close quarters usage, just because if you run it up against something, it's not going to scoop up refuse like a normal red dot sight. I just like that idea.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen while out doing things where my red dot turns into a little shovel.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not going to clear as easy. What? In my head, I'm like, well, it's the same thing with water, right? I had mud and a little bit of sand in mine, and that first shot cleared everything out, but you're not going to get that using it on a rifle. Your recoil isn't, it isn't slapping it the way it does on a pistol, right? You can put whatever you want. You can scoop shit up in your open emitter on your pistol and fire that first shot, and most of your crap's gone. You're going to have your reticle back, but not so much using it as an offset on a rifle.
Yeah.
It's a good call.
Now on the so the Advocate, is that is a micro prism sight, correct?
Yes.
Do you have
an etched reticle? Go ahead.
Right. Do you have plans to go into the 3 or 4x range with micro prisms?
I got plans for a 3X. I don't know if the 3X will make it out by the end of this year, right? So the 5 to 25 we were talking about earlier will make it out. The Granite, we've got a pretty gigantic window, like a 1/4 inch hanging off either side of your pistol slide. Open, kind of a competition pistol dot. And a couple other things cooking before we end 2024. I'd say the 3X is probably more 2025, but I absolutely do want one. I don't know how many people buy it, but I just want one.
I would be in that.
I'd be interested.
See, I'm kind of interested. I like the 1X prism, but also if I was gonna do a micro prism sight, I like a little bit of magnification, and I just got a 5X of the micro prism that Primary Arms makes. and I'm going to be testing that out this coming weekend at a competition, if everything goes correctly. But Sam and I have had this back and forth about magnification with those and what we want, and 3 versus 5x, and I definitely see the usefulness of a 3x.
I'm a 3
guy. This is a really, really silly comparison, but I'm gonna make it anyway. There's some friends of mine and I have been playing this VR game, and in the VR game, the ACOG with its 4x is almost unusable at most ranges, except about 200 yards, versus the EOTech with its 3x magnifier. You flip the 3x magnifier, it's much more usable between like 250 meters before you have to go flip it off because it's just too close. You can't acquire your target. Like a 5x to me, I almost think a 5x might be too much, but the 3x I do much better with a 3x.
That was my next question. So over
you
is 3x
right.
kind of 3x is 3x what people want, right?
Well, 3x
what demand you think is there for a 5x? Because I've looked through a 5x and kind of thought the same thing, and I was only looking into the parking lot, I guess. But it was like, well, I'm going to have a kind of a challenge. Anything inside of here, I can do it, but it's going to be challenging. It seems like this is more built for beyond that metal building over there.
It depends on your objective lens size as you go up in magnification, whether or not you're going to have a usable field of view. So I have a 6x fixed magnification rifle scope, which has a 42 millimeter objective lens that has plenty of field of view, and it's useful as close as like 5 or 10 yards. I mean, and it has parallax adjustment. It adjusts down to 10 yards, so it's useful at that range. So you would have to go bigger on a 5x to make it really useful, and you're not going to have the same footprint in, say, a 1x versus a 3x versus a 5x. But you could definitely make a 3x that has a wide enough field of view in order to make it useful. And that's kind of what you're looking at in that area, I think. But I have a rifle here that's got a red dot on it, which would be really cool. I like the idea of the micro prism on a rifle instead of a red dot. Like the red dot, I feel like could be a micro prism in just about every scenario, unless you're doing like a tiny little like offset red dot. And then I like the 5x because I like to see a little bit better, but I think I might be a little bit more blind than Sam is. So
I don't know about that.
I'm glad we had this conversation because that reminds me, I don't know where we're at with the magnifier. So that was kind of my list. Like, yes, we want the 3x eventually, but a 3x magnifier, right? That for sure. And there's some, I can't remember the brands off the hand, but the Advocate lines up with most of the swing away magnifiers that are already on the market, right? That's kind of like a standard height that everybody's using. But
really?
I want us to have our own. And you just reminded me that I need to ask them where we're at on our 3x swing out magnifier to go with the Advocate.
A magnifier behind a Mediator or an Advocate would be really, really cool.
I don't know how this would line up price wise, but like a 3x prism sight that has a QD mount that comes with the QD mount, so that if you could line it up with like iron, you could have iron sights as a backup, and if you needed to just remove the 3x and toss it in your pocket or in a bag or something, and then use your iron sights. Because the other value of having backup iron sights versus an optic is you can get into conditions where no matter what you do, your optic will fog up. Like if it's raining out, it will become untenable to use any kind of thing that requires a glass plane in front of your eye. And at that point, your iron sights really come into their own, because iron sights don't care how wet it is. You can look through them no matter what. So the ability to remove the glass impediment in front of you during bad conditions is really useful. And like, I have a rifle that the backups are iron sights, but I'd like to be able to remove the optic quickly in case I have to, just in general. But
It's a good call.
I agree with that.
Well, that's why we put suppressor height sights on a pistol if we put an optic on them, right? It's kind of the same idea. And if you can't see through, if you're not co-witnessing, or lower 1/3 co-witness is what I do when possible on a rifle. If you're not going to do that, yeah, you should have the ability to remove your optic.
Yeah.
It's a good call.
What about other more? So currently the optics that you got right now, the pistol dots, mediator, the LPVOs, the Guardian, they're all basically more. And this isn't a detriment. That just seems like they're more tactically oriented. What do you have coming up in the future? What are you guys working on, or what could you be working on that is more huntingly? I can't say it tactically. What's more hunting oriented?
Huntily, that's a word.
It is now.
Oh,
for sure.
In the show title, Dave, do Hunt A. Lee. Like Lee is a person. Huntily.
Huntily with a hyphen.
Yes.
For sure be a 5 to 25 before Christmas. I'm actually hoping a lot earlier than that.
That is
25 is just about done.
Now, the main question with that, are you doing a mill reticle, like a mill based reticle with those?
Let's pretend that I don't know that. I'm just kidding. Okay. I don't remember that offhand.
Okay.
Mill or shit. I'm trying to remember what the other word is. I already mentioned that I'm not the brains. I just use stuff and break stuff.
What? Mill and not BDC. MOA. I was thinking.
Mill.
That's what.
My bad.
BDC.
That's what I wrote down, and then you wrote BDC. I'm like, no, there's no. That
was the third one that I was thinking of that some people do.
I don't even hunt that
do
much.
A BDC for
I
some
know
reason.
that shit ain't right.
Wrong initials.
I think is all we've got. All we've got for sure on the horizon right now. Why don't you guys tell me what else we should have?
2 to 12
on the agenda.
2 to 12. Dave is right.
2 to 12.
But that's it. Okay, good. I'll make one
16.
more thing. Make one thing in 2025, and you guys will be happy. All right. Thanks for having me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Let's Go Hunt podcast.
I guess
2
we're
to
done.
12.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
2 to 12.
Mike,
big
you'd
one
love
for
to be
these
done
guys.
right now.
No, I wouldn't.
You would.
Vince, you had something to say.
Go to bed.
Yeah, but now we started earlier, so I can stay up longer.
Mike.
Oh, great.
Vince, go.
Okay, seriously, there's an ask for every seat, and if anyone out there is going to find, someone's going to find a use case for everything in between 5 to 25 and 1 to 4. Like pretty much everyone. And it's kind of like the market is settling on, okay, we have the 1 to 8, and we have the 2 to 12, and we have the 3 to 18, and then the 5 to 25. And somewhere in there, sometimes like the 4 to 20. Yeah. But I would almost say
so
like
pick 4 to 20 or 3 to 18 go.
3 to 18.
3 to 18.
Yep.
3 to 18.
Well,
based on what I said earlier, I'd much rather have that 3x than the 4x.
If I had to pick 3, I would have a 1 to 8, a 3 to 18, and a 5 to 25. If I had to pick just 3.
Similar.
But I do
1 to 6. I do 1 to 6 rather than 1 to 8. But
I could see that argument. I do like
here's
my
the other
2 to
question.
12.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I like my 2 to 12. I find that to be a very useful optics range for hunting. But the thing is, like when you get into the so for years, all of your tactical optics have derived from what were originally hunting optics, and they've made them better. I kind of don't believe in hunting optics anymore because you can take any tactical optic and use it for hunting, and you just kind of backfill that role. Like everybody, you have FUDs who are still like, I want a duplex reticle in my 3 to 9 power loophole. Well, a 2 to 12 that has any kind of center aiming point is the exact same thing, except it has more functionality.
Yeah.
And it's not my fault if you look through it and get confused. Figure it out. It still has a center aiming point, man. So
read the book.
Yeah, read the book. I mean, I'm kind of a mill purist. I like my mill-based reticles.
Well, that answers that question. Yeah, that's the other question I know.
I'm on that boat too.
I'm pretty sure mill. Who said MOA?
I like MOA.
Fuck you, Mike. You're not on my team.
Yes, I am. Apparently.
That's interesting.
Turns out.
Hey, that's
all I've ever known is MOA. So that's what I stick with.
Okay,
I have a scope. I have a scope now that is a mill reticle with MOA adjustments, and it fucks with me so bad.
That is the worst.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
The one thing I can say about MOA is that it is, in fact, a ruler that you can use to measure things like mills.
Yeah.
No, that's not a joke. Like, that's what you're using it for. It's a ruler in front of your face that you use to measure things, like the drop of the bullet and the adjustments you need to make when you make a mistake. And you can use MOA for that. I think mills.
MOA is one less equation from mills, unless you're just metric.
If you think in metric, then mills is for you. And maybe I should possibly be using mills given my background, but no, I like MOA.
I think in Mike's.
No, if you like to count to 10, that's why you like mills. If you like to count to 4 in quarters, then
that's all me.
I like to count to 10 and then divide by 0.6 or multiply by 0.6.
I guess. Okay, if you're a pure capitalist, you like to count up to $1 in quarters. That's why you want MOA. Anyway,
that's the new selling point for MOA optics.
Yeah.
Are you a capitalist?
Are you a capitalist or a commie? All right. MOA for
Has your reticle been to the moon? No?
Okay. Oh, boy. I will say, if you want to learn to shoot better with a mill reticle, you buy yourself, well, if you're in construction, you buy yourself a centimeter measuring tape, and pretty soon it becomes a lot easier to judge what's a centimeter. I need to find mine again.
1 centimeter's what, 2/5 of an inch?
That's the problem. If you're gonna do it, you can't start thinking in terms of what a centimeter is to an inch. You just have to know what a centimeter looks like.
Right. That was always my problem learning foreign languages. Like, I never learned to think in the language. I always was translating in my head.
It's gato means cat, not gato is that thing that likes to try and smother me at night.
All right, that was a weird, awkward silence. That wasn't even a bad joke.
Like, I don't even want to take it where I went. No, I got it. I just don't want to pursue it.
In PVO, I would be very, very, very interested in MPVO. I would throw an MPVO on my 300 Win Mag.
Raise your hand if you want an MPVO.
I do hate that it's called MPVO.
Me too.
That is a mid-power variable optic.
But then we're going to have HPVOs, and that reminds me of those commercials I keep seeing for the human papillomavirus.
You can't call that
vaccinated for it.
Like, you can't go tell your daughter you're going to start making HPVOs. She's going to be like, what the hell? You're going to do what?
I'm sure we'll get used to it, but for some reason, I get the LPVO and MPVO, but for some reason, the first time I saw MPVO, it just...
every time I see someone use that an acronym, like in the We Like Shooting chat or something, I'm like, you pretentious little bastard. It's an
Javelin Fang says...
it makes sense.
Javelin Fang says moist PVO.
When you turn the dials, there's a certain slickness to them.
All right,
this one's not waterproof. Oh no!
If you're in Florida, then yes.
God
I'm
damn.
Starting to get on board. You had me at moist. Thanks, Javelin Fangs. Appreciate you, bro.
Why are you,
ladies and gentlemen? We got him.
Just so you know, Bob, Mike likes to shoot an antelope at 25x, no matter what range.
And just so you know, Bob, Dave likes to tell people I like to shoot an antelope willy-nilly.
Well, I never said you missed. I never gave you shit for throwing 10 rounds downrange. I just said you like to shoot an antelope at 25.
Mike's philosophy is if he fills his reticle with animal, he can't miss. Because all
turns
he
out
is animal.
That's incorrect.
It's true.
You can still go high or low.
Sorry, Mike.
Fuck.
That's just a joke I love. It's up there with the free duck.
One of these days, I'll get redemption and actually kill an animal with
I
one
got a
shot
free
in
duck.
visual range of Dave.
I
One
will
of
take
these
you.
days.
I will take a selfie with you and post it on my personal Instagram. And be like, finally got it.
So late September elk. Good
Yeah, we'll
question,
see.
Bob. Javelin Fangs wants to know if you like wild game.
What do you mean? Do I like wild game?
Like cooking it?
Like, do you
it.
eat it? Do you like to eat it?
Oh, to eat it?
Yeah, like
I've eaten a lot of deer, and I still love deer. I should get back into hunting because I much prefer deer than anything you can purchase at any supermarket or even butcher shop. Man, deer's
See how cool.
just
would
better
it
than
be?
cow.
It is better than cow, absolutely. How cool would it be to go out, get back into hunting because you sat down with 4 idiots, and you put on an MPVO and took out a deer with an MPVO that was more or less spurned by talking to 4 idiots.
and then you come back and tell us about it.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it for 40 minutes because we start talking about moisture and scopes.
I think
I was just going to say I'm going to have to
no,
find
never
a
mind.
cameraman or take one of my kids or one of the guys from the shop so that they can get the pink mist and I can turn back toward the camera and go moist. And then we'll have some kind of like animation pop up. MPVNO by Gideon Optics. MPVO by Gideon Optics.
Yeah,
Right after I go moist, and then it freeze frames like the opening scene for a.
We're gonna clip that so hard.
So forget
It's not the
naming
worst
your
thing
optics.
about me on the internet.
Forget naming your optics serious names. You just go with meme names. It's the moist PVO. It's the Christmas tree. It's the lollipop.
So
Just gonna
so
give
Bob's
up and
out
go
there and he
whole
takes
other
a shot.
direction.
Bob takes a shot, and it's been a really long time since he's been hunting. So the shot goes errant, and the deer runs off, and he turns around to the camera and goes, "Missed."
Jesus fucking Christ!
You got to get at least 3 of those before the moist shot. You're right. Now
That was
that's
good.
that's cinematic perfection.
I was so scared.
Yes.
Don't worry. I had my finger on the mute button.
Thanks for the backup, Sam.
Oh,
I didn't
Jesus
really.
Christ.
I lied.
That was amazing.
Oh,
I'm really sad if I don't eventually bring that fantastic footage to you boys.
Well, I
I
have
want to
to.
my
see that
goal
beautiful
now.
bean
I wanna-
footage.
And I'm going
Do
to clip it.
what?
I'm going to clip it and post it on Instagram and send it to you every week.
I mean, the real video. This is gold here. This
Oh,
will
yeah,
break
it's
the
totally
internet, I
gold.
think.
No, I'm saying I'm going to clip this out of the show, and I'll probably just bombard you with it. Except for I'll forget to do it. But, you know.
With mist and
Dude,
moist.
turn it into do a remix.
You're
Moist,
gonna do
moist,
one of
moist.
those old
Moist.
school mashups.
Yes.
It's moist. Beatbox that shit together for us. It's,
Bob making videos trying to get his first deer. Miss, moist. Moist.
Oh, goodness.
Moist.
All right.
All right, I have to stop or I'll go forever.
We are approaching an hour and a half. Is there anything else we actually need to get in here? Or are we going to talk about moisture some more?
No, there's nothing left on my mind except for the word moist.
I'm all dried out. So I'll just wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, that was good.
I'll try it out.
Oh, no. What?
Not anymore.
Oh, I'm going to put that. I need to make that sound effect.
God
Put it on the
almighty.
board.
We have gotten 3 out of this. That's another one right there, at least.
I have been hunting in the last few years, actually. Yeah.
What did you hunt?
Oh, yeah?
I feel like an idiot. I just went deer hunting with my daughter a handful of times. She has friends, friends of our family. She went to preschool with. And, yeah, what was she? 16, I think. So I guess that's a year ago, maybe. She said, "Hey, I want to go hunting with Hannah and her dad." And I said, "Fantastic." She also went to one of those youth quail hunts, which is kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. But
Yeah.
she started out with that and then said, "I'd like to get my hunting license." So I went to the safety course with her. went out and taught her how to shoot her grandpap's old 30-30 Winchester. She didn't get a deer. Her friend did, but it was
she
a
got
really
the
amazing experience too.
her friend got the deer, so she got to see we
all
got
got
the experience. That's awesome.
Experience that, yeah. She didn't end up getting one that season. Then we never went back. She got into girl teenager things, but I'm really glad that we did that. And reminds me I need to take my other ones too, because my other two are younger than her. So I've had enough of a refresher course on hunting to be able to safely accomplish it, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously I got to teach them to shoot, but her friend's dad actually learned me a lot, or reminded me of a lot that I'd forgotten from when I was a kid, whenever I would go with my dad. Anyway.
Yeah, we're still kind of...
My daughter got her first deer tag this year, so it'll be her first time hunting, and she's 12 now. So it'll be awesome. It'll be a good time.
I'm excited to hear about that. That's so awesome.
Yeah,
you guys are gonna have a great time.
Hopefully, I mean, muley tag out here, not terrible to fill, but we'll see. But anyway,
it didn't seem like it.
Support the sport and take your buddy hunting. Get some trauma training. Search for Let's Go Hunt on YouTube, Instagram at Let's Go Hunt Podcast, and at Reddit at r/Let's Go Hunt Podcast. Links are available at firearmsradio.net or lghpodcast.com. If you enjoyed the show, tell your friends and family about us. Check the show notes for info on Initiative 91, the ban on cat hunting in Colorado. It's a bad ban. All right. Thanks for listening, and let's go hunt.
All right, Dave, we got to get you to start talking faster.
I'm fucking sorry.
You're good.
I was trying to talk while somebody was typing in it, and it was just I'm being stupid.
Oh, that was nice. I like Has Your Reticle Been to the Moon for a title, but
I think that would be a good descriptor.
Well, hurry up and pick, because I'm pushing the button.
No.
Okay, whatever. Thanks for